and we'll get started because we got a lot going on. And Anita, you're going to be my guinea pig for interaction. So, all right.
You've been voluntold.
You've been voluntold. Yes. All right. So we'll give it a few more minutes. We have Tan Jenna from Bangladesh on the line as well. So that's great. And so Anita, did you say that you were traveling over the break, over Christmas and New Year's?
Actually, no. Surprisingly, this year I did not travel. I
Oh, okay.
actually just got back from a birthday trip to Florida where it was like 77,
Oh yeah, that's nice.
but now it's like 21.
Oh gosh, yeah, I know. Oh my goodness. Yeah, because you usually travel right during that time.
I love to travel during the holidays, but we just decided to keep it close to home. I also close my calendar at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but it gives me an opportunity to close out, current year stuff, plans for the next year,
Right.
you know, finish up some things. I didn't do as much of that as I thought I would. Um, but it was a good end of year. It was relaxing.
Oh, good. Okay, that's nice. Yeah.
How about you? Did you travel?
We went to Mexico City. That was fantastic. Highly recommend. Have you gone before, Anita?
I've been to Mexico City. Is that your first time?
Yes. Highly recommend. It was amazing. Better than I ever expected.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I have a lot of great things to say. Yeah. Recommend highly. Yeah. All right. So we're 2 minutes in. I'm gonna make the executive decision to just jump in. We got Soli on the line. So Anita, I'm going to introduce you to Soli. She's probably off camera as well. Soli is our assistant at Smoking Hot Books, and she is an awesome assistant and is going to be observing and monitoring the chat. So if things are going on in the chat and I'm not catching them, Soli, just be like, Renee, like, look at the chat. So pay attention. Yeah, there's multiple things going on here, right here. So all right, welcome. Okay, we got Amy on Substack Live. We got Karen, Ben, awesome, and yeah, we're gonna have more people as well. So welcome to the 10,000 copies book launch system, you guys. So this is a free 3-day workshop about what it looks like to actually become a best-selling author. So Amy's on the line, which is awesome. She says, Renee's book marketing tips are the best, and I really appreciate that. And this is awesome because Amy just yesterday started beating Alex Hormozy on the bestseller charts on Amazon. So it's whatever this is. Yeah, this launch system, it works. I've seen it work. I used it for myself. My friends have used it. My clients are using it, and they are just smashing it. So it's really awesome. And we're going to now share this with you, right? So ultimately, what do we want to do with your book, right? We want to turn it into a marketing piece, a sales piece for you so that it's your employee. It's out in the world working for you rather than you being your book's employee, right? Where you're not just the guy at the networking event with author on your name tag and you're just like, please buy my book. When you want to buy my book, please buy my book. You're not that guy. You are the person who's like, oh my gosh, you're the person people coming up to and be like, did you write X book? Did you write Your Life, Anita? Right? Um, and we're going to turn it into ultimately possibly a 6-figure business asset, not just from the book sales alone, which absolutely it can do, but it can go on to fill your pipeline and you can help your readers and your clients even more by helping them in more higher value projects. Wink, wink, right? And this works even if you have a small social media following. I did this with 183 Instagram followers. I sold 10,000 copies of a book with a little less than 200 Instagram followers. Okay. And this is possible for you, even if you have a small social media following, and even if your last launch flopped, right? I have had many flops in the past, but it doesn't define your future or your present. You can still, find success. So here is how we're going to do it. So these 3 days, you guys, we have an agenda. And so the first day today is all about defining your story, your magnetic origin story. Why would someone find you, the author, as an authority? How are you going to articulate your story in a way that people see themselves in you and in your story? Because I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of authors who are going on podcast tour now. And when someone says, "Who are you? What are you talking about? What's your expertise?" They launch into essentially thought spaghetti. And no one knows exactly what they're talking about and why what they're talking about pertains to their personal story. So we're going to give you a framework on how to turn your message, your mess, your mess into your message. Okay. And it's a magnetic way of bringing people towards you that also defines your authenticity and your authority at the same time. Woo! All right. Number two, so tomorrow we're going to go into the 4 reasons why books, business books, whether they're self-published, whether they're traditionally published, whether they're hybrid published, either way, 4 reasons, the main ones that I see all the time, why books flop or did flop, right? And I even see this all the time. Business authors all the time will have this huge launch party. They have the balloons, they have the people, they got all the things, and they sell maybe like 250 books at that event. And then they're like, now what? And then they start running like Facebook ads to it. No one buys them. They start trying to drive people to their TikTok page. No one's buying. And you start to lose steam and momentum, and all the investment that you made, time, money, energy that you put into your book starts to not get realized. But I'm going to show you how to actually get ROI from your book. All right. Amy she just had some paid subscribers join her paid email list. And that means that her Substack, her newsletter is gaining value. She's in the market to sell that newsletter soon. And when she drives more paid people to that newsletter, she's going to start really seeing that ROI. All right. And then finally, number 3, we're going to actually go into how all of this comes together, how your magnetic origin story and how fixing these reasons for why your book is flopping, how we're going to actually put it all together so that you do succeed. You do realize success. Amy just says, we just passed 200,000 in annual recurring revenue and saw a huge boost in paid subs thanks to your tips, Renee. What? Oh my gosh, that's so exciting, Amy. And trust me, I wasn't like, let's like try to force these things into it happens. When you have a strategy, you can lead with confidence. You don't have to shoot from the hip. You can actually get what you set out to do, which is growth in your business. All right. So let's get started. All right. So who this is for. So really, the things I'm going to be sharing with you guys are a little more advanced when it comes to digital marketing. If you're a complete beginner to digital marketing, if you've never made a social media post before, if you've made less than 100K online, I'm not here to like share with you like how to gain followers on Instagram. I'm not here to share with you how to set up a landing page. Those are the basics, and that's kind of what is expected of someone who can find success here. Although all of these things can be learned, but it's going to be best done by someone who has already had the experience, the digital marketing experience of having already made 100K online. That's kind of like the hey Colin, I'm going to mute you, all right? And welcome. We got Colin on the line. Um so yeah, just a heads up. This is also for the people who want to become the authority in your space, and you want to launch a successful book and you just have no idea how, or you have published flops in the past, right? So I have talked to many, many, many authors, and they find me a little too late. And they're like, oh, I already published my book. And they're playing catch up, right? They're saying, oh no, like I already launched the book and now I have no idea what to do. And there's this James Clear quote when he was talking about how he launched Atomic Habits. He was saying how when he was talking to other authors, he was, they'll be saying like, I already published my book on Amazon. And he's saying, well, you're like 12 months behind. All of this stuff needs to be happening before your book goes out. And we're going to talk about that, the details of that, exactly what that is. But I want you to find success. And we're going to talk about the details of how to do that. All right. And then finally, the last thing, I would absolutely say that this is for people who know that your internal world 3D prints your external world. If you got, I can't really help you if you're gonna like blame the external world for all your problems and you're not really ready to do the internal work to find success. This is for those who are like, yeah, I can take responsibility for my outcomes because they are results of my thoughts and beliefs and therefore actions. So, if that is you, then welcome. This is for you. Okay. So, if you're watching later, great. This is a great time to silence your phone, to shut off distractions, put your phone away, close your tabs, take notes. This is where you actually start to make a breakthrough in understanding in how you are going to find success with your book. All right. And some results really quickly. Okay. So on the left, so you guys are watching on live on Substack, so you can't see my slides, but just, bear with me. I'm painting a picture. So we have my very first client, Beth. I don't even know how we started work. Like, it was just like one of those things where you're like, your first client, you're like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I hope she wins. That was Beth, and she has done amazing with this exact system, okay? She went on to launch her coaching business from her book. She went on a nationwide bookstore and speaking tour from her book. She sold 1,000 copies in 6 months. And she only had 200 Instagram followers. So debunking the myth that you need a certain number of social media following to be successful, that's so untrue. You don't. You do need, though, to know how books actually move, where they move, how they're sold, where they're sold, and where people are buying them. And they're not on social media. People don't really buy books on social media. Even if you have, it's not the main place. There's no urgency on social media. It's not the place people buy books. And so therefore, I would not recommend selling books on social media. Okay. So Beth has done amazing. And she used the exact same system that Amy here used. The same system that I used when I sold my most recent success. It has sold over 15,000 copies. And this system, total disclaimer, was not invented by me. It was taught to me by two awesome, amazing coaches. They run this amazing business called publishing.com. And there's a system that takes mastery. But my friend Dan sold 40,000 copies with this system. My friend Ollie sold 200,000 copies of his books with this system. And it's used by every single student in publishing.com, 50,000 students, and they are making an average of $1,500 a month from just book sales alone using this exact system that I'm sharing with you, right? So it works, and it's going to work for you, I promise. All right. So some other really cool wins. Amy was beating Alex Hormozi within 2 weeks of launch. Beth sold 1,000 copies in 6 months with 200 Instagram followers. We got the New York Times requesting a book for review as a self-published author. Big win there. Nationwide bookstore and speaking tour, #1 Amazon bestsellers across the board, 100% success rate so far with that, knock on wood. And that's not even a thing. That's some of the easiest wins we get for clients. A guest on top 2% global podcasts, panelist at Emory University, International Book Awards, and more. All right. So that the results should speak for themselves. And I gotta say, it's mostly due to the caliber of the clientele. because they work, they win, and they're taking what they have learned and they're applying it, and they are doing amazing. So Ben in the Substack live chat is asking, what about fiction? And I want to be 100% clear here. This is only really for nonfiction. The way we market fiction and nonfiction is very different. This doesn't apply to fiction. I have never worked with fiction. It's a totally different game. And actually, a great person on Substack to look for fiction help with marketing. Her name is Fleur Hall. I'm going to put her name here, and she does amazing work with fiction authors. But I will say this is not for you if you are a fiction author. All right, so moving on. Other caveats, the 10,000 copies book launch system is not a magic pill. Um, you know, I wish I could say I sell snake oil, but I don't. But because this is not going to work if you don't. This works if you do. All right. So it only really works for those who are seeking mastery, who want to be masterful at what they do. So here's the thing is that Dan sold 40,000 copies of his book. Ollie sold 200,000 copies. I sold 15,000, and it's probably more by now, but it's because we dedicated ourselves to mastering this system. And if you are not ready to master it and you are looking for a master or someone who can execute the plan for you, well, great, because Smokin' Hot Books also has execution support services for those who don't have time to master it or rather hire out it to be executed by the masters. But I want to tell you this, that Mr. Beast, for example, is rewarded for his mastery of the YouTube algorithm. So this system is really good for those who know that it requires them to become unrecognizable, for them to be someone who can take on the identity of successful author before the results happen, right? So my friend Ollie mastered this system and sold 200,000 copies. My friend Dan sold 40,000 copies. I sold 15,000 copies. This proven system is best for those who are willing to roll up their sleeves and take ownership of their brand expansion. And I mean, another caveat is that any marketing system that is presented to anybody, whether it's coaching, whether it's services, I mean, it's not the Instagram that's making the results happen. It's not podcasting that's making the results happen. Anybody can show up on a podcast technically, but the right person showing up on the right podcast at the right time is going to sell way more books, is going to have way more impressive results than just any Joe Schmo off the street, right? This requires practice. It requires nuance. It requires mastery. But if you are willing to take ownership and find this, and master it, it's available to you. Amy right here, her first book did not do as well as she thought it would. For the past 2 years, it sold like less than a copy a day. But she tried again and she was willing to master it. And now she is a #1 bestseller across the board. She's a best-selling author now, and it's possible for you as well. And anyone watching this later, all right? Okay. So let's talk about you. All right. So really quickly, so we have Anita and Colin on the line. We also have people on Substack Live. Who has written, I know Anita you've written and launched a book as before. Let's get some audience interaction. Like, what was your result like? What was your experience like? Tell me more.
I've launched a couple of books
Mm-hmm.
and kind of did a lot of what you talked about. Post on social media, you let your subscriber list know,
Mm-hmm.
and talk about it in networking events as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we do, however fancy or non-fancy your launch party is and all that, and the level and everything. But yeah, point well taken.
Yeah.
And do request reviews once the book launches. Um, as you know, I coached other authors to get their words out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've seen my authors do a variety of different things with launch, including, lots of free stuff. I have one who's launching next month, and so she's done a lot of events and
Great.
a bunch of events, really very successful events. She has quite the marketing, sort of guerrilla marketing team, as we used to call it back in the day.
Right.
She's created posts for her, online team to sort of customize, if they will, so they don't have to start from scratch with posting. So she's kind of
Okay.
getting her community involved
Yep.
with supporting her book launch. I've seen others do the Amazon bestseller campaign with the 99-cent thing, which I have mixed feelings about that. But, it almost always works to get you number one. I've had other authors reach number one on Amazon without having to go 99 cents.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of depends. So we're seeing a lot of different things, a lot of podcast appearances as
Mm-hmm.
well prior to the book launch and just as the book becomes available. So, some good stuff, some strategies that work and stuff that, either need to be repeated or not.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right. Okay. Really great, Anita. And I'm seeing your chat. I have several clients whose books have launched and they feel behind with sales and visibility for the book. So this is great. And you mean it's not because of the algorithm? Right. So yeah, totally. Right. 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 So, that's great to hear, Anita, about like yeah, like your clients are trying different things, and that is marketing in general, right? Like we're all trying different things and keeping track of our experiments, right? Like scientific method and seeing what works. And absolutely, like there's different things that are working, and I'm not saying that this particular method is the end all be all method. There's different ways to do it, and there's ways that I don't show to or that we do here that other people do, and they swear by it too, right? So I'm not saying that there's a right or a wrong. However, this is just something that I've seen over and over again is that people go into the launch process not really having a strategy, and so they already are going in with wanting to throw spaghetti at the wall with an experimentative mindset. And that is not necessarily good or bad, other than we just want to save you time. We want to save you energy. We want to save you stress. We want to get you the results that you're looking for with as little stress and anxiety as possible. So, thank you for sharing that, Anita. Um, and just for the sake of time, we're going to keep on trucking. But I really do appreciate that. And it's online with a lot of the things that I have heard as well. Um, so I just want to share with you that this is it's like a common thing that's happening is that we are noticing that when we are marketing a book, a lot of entrepreneurs market a book, they go into it thinking like, oh, I'm just going to market it just like my brand, right? Like I'm going to show up on social media and I'm going to grow an audience and I'm going to share what I have with my audience, right? And this is what Amy did with her book. So Amy, if you're still on the line, I'm going to share your story with Six Figure Freelance Writer. So Amy had a audience of 45,000 TikTok followers, and they were an engaged and a focused, targeted audience. So it's like perfect, right? You would think to then launch a book called Six Figure Freelance Writer, um, all about like writing and making your own money and traveling around the world. And that's exactly what this audience was there to do, was to experience what Amy had to share. And then, so what did Amy do? She wrote the book, she put it on Amazon, and then she sent a link to that social media audience, 45,000 followers. A lot of people would be like, oh my gosh, I wish I had 45,000 followers. But then when she did that, it did not go the way that she thought it would. There was not quite that windfall of book sales that that she thought. And that's the kind of the thing, is that we're kind of learning from each other. Like, I have never done TikTok. TikTok, what Amy says here, TikTok was horrible for driving book sales, can confirm. And, there's a lot of people out there who swear by book talk too. But I'm just trying to kind of get our minds wrapped around how there is this more of a mindset thing where we don't want to market our book like a brand. We want to instead market our book more like marketing a product. And what does that mean? So I have an example here of Beyonce. I still haven't seen her in concert. I don't know why. I need to. But last April, Beyonce launched a hair care line. If anyone remembers, it's called Sacred. And I get Ulta magazines, the Ulta catalog sent to my mailbox, and I'm like, yay, April! It's marketing Ulta catalog, and I saw that Beyonce was launching her Sacred hair care line, and she already on the um on the page, it already said it had 18,000 five-star reviews on day one of her Sacred hair care line being available to the public. It already had 18,000. So what does that mean? So it means that there is a pre-game period. So I was watching some video beforehand where they call it like a pre-game, where there is all this pre-launch activity happening, where they're sending out samples, for example, the Sacred hair care line, to people in Beyonce's fan base. They're like saying, hey, we're about to launch this new product. It's coming out next year. And here's a free sample for you. Maybe 99 cents, Anita, like you were saying. It could be less, could be more. But it's a low activation energy sample for you to try this. And we want to get your feedback on it. Because what that means, when your product actually goes live to the wider public, in a 12 months from now, there's already reviews on it. There's already social proof on it. And that's when the bigger public sees how it's the social proof has already been collected. That's when it starts to blow up. But we're not going to get to that blow up phase before we hit that smaller we got to get that activation energy going. Okay. And that's how we're marketing books. So, Anita, like you were saying, some people do the 99-cent activation energy, get the reviews in, get the number one bestseller strategy in. That is how I recommend launching books, because it clearly works for product marketing, like Beyonce's hair care line. And even before we're sending out 99-cent books, we're even doing things like sending out free copies of our book, which in the book marketing world is called an advanced reader copy. An advanced reader copy. It's a free copy, and it's just so that we can get people to actually give an honest review, and we can collect those reviews so that when game time hits, people actually see, oh, it actually is a good book, therefore it's worth my $20. Is that making more sense to anyone and everybody? Okay. Hopefully, yes. Okay, so let's go through some case studies of like how this works. Does this actually work for other people besides just the people I'm talking about? So, for example, we have three popular business authors here. We got James Clear, we got Amy Porterfield, we got Jessica Zweig. Just like casually the most popular business authors of today. But on the left, James Clear, when he was launching Atomic Habits is like the number one best-selling book of the decade, nonfiction book of the decade. And when James Clear was launching Atomic Habits, he sent out free advanced reader copies of his book 6 to 12 months before it went live. And in the 6 to 12 months before his book went out, he was booking podcast appearances. And he was doing this on a runway up until his book went live. When his book went live, all those reviews dropped. All those podcast episodes dropped. And that's when everything started blowing up. But there was this runway effect that was happening in the 6 to 12 months before his book went live. Okay. Same thing with Amy Porterfield. Before Amy Porterfield's book went live, 2 weeks notice right here, she was sending out free copies of her book to her audience. She was sending out free copies of her book to her friends, and they were reading it. She gave them time to read it. And then when she said, "Okay, my book is going out in 6 months from now," she's saying, "You get 6 months to read the book and give me and develop your honest review of this book. So when the book goes live, you're going to leave a review on Amazon so that it's going to show up on Amazon with 100 5-star reviews, so that when the bigger public sees it, they're saying, wow, this book already has 100 5-star reviews. Therefore, it's worth my time and worth my energy and worth my money." Same thing for Jessica Zweig's book, B. Okay, so this is a personal branding book. Before B went live, Jessica sent out free copies of her book, and some of them were physical copies, some of them were digital copies. She sent out so she's sending out free copies of her book up until her book went live. I think it was in November 3 years ago. In November, when her book went live for the public got to then say, we want a copy of this book. It's now live on Amazon. All of her people who had read it beforehand left their review on Amazon. She got hundreds of reviews within maybe like 30 days. And then when they saw that this book already had social proof, I went and bought that book. Then she went out and started podcast touring for her book. And then other people saw that she had reviews of that book. And because that social proof was there, the trust was already there, then they would buy that book. All right. The activation energy was there. I'm sensing we have some questions. We need to clarify a few things. Does anyone have any questions about this on Zoom? Okay. So Colin says, I found out I had to learn the whole marketing skill once I had finished my book. There's a whole industry of people trying to teach you and do it for you, which is confusing trying to find people to trust. I did a lot of Facebook and Amazon ads. I spent a lot, but didn't get the return on it, to be honest. Okay, Colin, I understand where this is coming from, and I can see why you would say that. I have also been in that situation as well, and I also value what I invest in as well. And to be honest, a lot of it has to do with experience and expertise. So the thing is that there's a lot, you're totally right. There's a lot of publishing companies out there who promise the world. But they need to know like what they're doing. They need to be masters of Amazon. They need to be masters of knowing how the bestseller charts work. They need to be masters of knowing what the numbers are to reach certain charts. Like, for example, for USA Today bestseller, you must hit 6,000 in pre-orders in a single week across Amazon and another non-Amazon platform to hit USA Today bestseller. And I would go in to these different agencies or these people with a lot of questions. And we can talk about a lot of these questions. And I would say that Facebook ads, I have not seen Facebook ads return a lot when it comes to books, especially nonfiction and how to, but I have seen Amazon ads work. But I also will say that Amazon ads only works if you work. Because I've in the past didn't know what I was doing and spent a lot of money on Amazon ads and didn't receive a return until I changed up what I was doing. And that's when the gasoline was on the fire and was able to sell 15,000 books, mostly through Amazon ads and through Amazon. Okay, Anita says, sometimes the concern is getting these early reviewers to actually post the review once the book launches, hoping your system has an approach for this. And absolutely. So, um, I completely understand why there is a concern for getting these early reviewers to actually post the review. And that's kind of the thing with people is that we're asking them to do something for us. It's like a favor, right? And um, a lot of people don't always, they ask people once, or maybe they'll do like a mass email and say, "Okay, my book is live. Now, please leave me a review." They go into it with a bit of hesitation. They are afraid to follow up. They're afraid of being annoying. And those fears will prevent you from following through. So I will say, I'm just going to give you a little teaser. So we do have I have used this myself, a way of getting people to follow up. And you're basically you just have no fear. Like we're canvassing, we're knocking on people's doors, but digitally. All right. We're saying, hey, like the book is live and go leave a review. You know, with confidence. Okay. Um, all right. That was a good question. And any other questions from the audience? So let's see. I am not seeing anything from Substack Live. So okay, so we're gonna keep going. Okay. Great questions. And I am really appreciating the questions and the comments and the thoughts. Let's see. We have another one. Anita says, "Would you recommend digital or physical advance copies?" And I have seen both. I have only personally ever used digital copies. I sent out PDFs for this. It was completely free, infinitely replicable. You can send out an infinite number of PDFs, so low expense, and was able to get back 100 reviews in 10 days without sending a single physical copy. Some people like to send out physical copies because when they send out a physical copy, they can send it to an influencer, and the influencer can then take a picture of it and like post it on LinkedIn or whichever. So you can do both. Um, but I have seen the agility of digital, and love digital and love how, yeah, inexpensive it can be. Oh, okay. All right. Good questions. Okay. So let's also talk about buying behaviors in 2026 and beyond and how this applies to you as an author. Okay. And this is something that Layla Hormozy actually predicted, I want to say 2 years ago. I was driving back from my corporate job. I was listening to one of her podcasts when I was like still hoping to make the entrepreneurial leap. And she predicted this. And she said that in 2026 and beyond, actually, she said it was 2025 and beyond, but now we're in 2026. So here we go. People don't buy information and people don't even buy implementation anymore. We have courses aplenty. We got all the blogs. We got all the social media. We got all the YouTubes. We don't want more information. In fact, that's kind of why I feel like AI is so needed nowadays because there's so much information. AI has this ability to help us summarize information because we're like, how do we even make a decision with all this information? And what's the real thing that people are lacking with all this digitalness? It's connection. It's experience. It's intimacy. It's being connected to each other and knowing that we all share the same experiences. And so here's the thing is that many entrepreneurs, many entrepreneurs are really good at getting shit done, right? They're like, I have been getting shit done for the past 10, 20 years, and I put my head down and I get things done. But when it comes to becoming an author, when it comes to actually telling your story, authorship and lead the cult of personality that you are building relies now on your ability to storytell. That is a skill that is somewhat underdeveloped when it comes to entrepreneurialism and transitioning from just being an expert at what you do to becoming now an authority. There is a quote so I'm in the sales coaching program now, and their whole quote is it's not about what you do. It's about how you communicate what you do. And this is exactly what we're talking about. How can you, when you're on that podcast, you landed that top 2% podcast, 1% podcast, and when you show up and the podcast host says, "So who are you and what do you do?" Can you briefly, succinctly, and emotionally, intimately magnetize listeners to you from your story? And then ultimately drive listeners to want to purchase your book. And in your book, are you then telling your story? And Anita, I'm sure you do this very well. When you're guiding your entrepreneurs through telling their story, you got to get all that stuff out of them. People are afraid. And this is a new skill for you to open up and be more open and clear and tell your story. Anita, see your mic is on.
Absolutely. And story is everything. We know that, you know that.
Yes.
Definitely. And they're trying to connect with and remember stories. I mean, that's why we
Totally.
read children bedtime stories. Oh, stories, everything.
Totally. Absolutely. So here's the number one thing that I've seen that authors don't magnetize. And it's the thought spaghetti. It's the, I have done so many different things. I have seen so much. I have accomplished so much. Look at all my trophies. But when it comes to actually magnetizing people to you because of the shit you've seen, the shit you've gone through, and now who you are because of that shit, like, that's magnetic. That is what people want to see. And we want to hear it in a way that sounds understandable. Okay, we want to follow along. Okay, so here is day one. We're going to be talking about your story, your magnetic origin story. And again, this is about nonfiction. And this is about entrepreneurs. This is about entrepreneurs who have seen some shit and are now coaching people, sharing people, helping people out of the same shit situation they were in not too long ago, right? So you need a storytelling framework. Anita, you might have a different one. However, this is the one that we use at Smoking Hot Books to help you tell your story. And this is credited to a book marketer named Steve Harrison. And Steve Harrison was one of Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad's author of Rich Dad Poor Dad's. Steve Harrison actually showed this to me. I started using this and have seen how powerful it is. And the example we have here is Mike Michalowicz, and his book called Profit First has sold over 1 million copies, and it's still his number one hit. The reason that it's so profound is not Profit First is this accounting method. Accounting is boring. Here's what I'm trying to tell you. Entrepreneurs, you're sharing a method, you're building your pipeline, but nobody really cares about that. People care about why you have this method, why it's important to you. So here is how Mike Michalowicz developed this accounting method called Profit First that saved his business and has saved since millions of other small businesses in America, mine included, okay? So Mike says, so we're starting with cruising along. Mike was actually a successful business owner. He owned multiple 7-figure businesses until something bad happened. And that was what for Mike? Bankruptcy. Oh no, bankruptcy. And so he hit a low point. He lost everything. He lost everything. He had to move his family into a senior living facility. He lost his businesses, and he even took up drinking because he thought that he was on top of the world until he realized he didn't know as much as he thought he did. Now, here's the thing: is that every entrepreneur knows that that low point is the gift, because that's when your awareness blasts open. You learn everything, like your awareness blasts open and you learn something about yourself that no one could have taught you. So what then? Mike started developing a new accounting method for his own business so that he wouldn't go bankrupt anymore. And it's called the Profit First method. So he started solving the problem for himself first. And at the time, no one else knew how to solve it in that way. And he learned something really novel and then he realized that other people could start benefiting from this method. And so what did he do? He started sharing how wonderful profit first was in his own life, started sharing it with one person and another person and another person. And before you know it, it's now reaching critical mass. And this is how, I mean, many entrepreneurs, maybe it's not, I mean, there's like a few people who I know who doesn't follow this particular framework, but just one of my clients, Lauren, she, for example, started this new business to help academics launch their own coaching businesses because she herself worked her ass off to become an academic only to realize she hated it, became depressed, had to crawl her way out of that, and is now helping other people reach the successes that she has because of what she learned when she hit that low point. Is that making sense for people? Okay, Nita says, this is a nice flip of the traditional story arc. The focus is on the low point and not the climax of the story. And I have to completely agree because when it comes to entrepreneurship, your authority and your expertise should already be completely evident. You know, if you've been making millions of dollars in your business, yeah, you're getting people to follow you. And this is the whole point, is that you're taking your success to the next level. But why do people really care? People care not because of your success. People care because you're a human. People care because you're connected with them. People only care about how much you care about them. There is this story from Ann Byler, the founder of Auntie Anne's Pretzels. And she started Auntie Anne's Pretzels. So here's her when she started Auntie Anne's Pretzels. But she didn't start that way because she started along here when she was living in an Amish community. And all of a sudden, she started becoming, something bad. Her pastor of her tight-knit Amish community started sexually abusing her. And so she hit a low point. For 7 years, she had no idea what to do. She had a horrible secret. She hid it from her husband. She hid it from everyone she knew. She didn't know what to do until she finally solved the problem, which was she got marriage counseling. And that marriage counseling saved her marriage. It saved her and her husband's marriage. And she was so moved by that she wanted to start a business to help other people access marriage counseling. And there you go. Auntie Anne's multi-million-dollar franchise business that you see at every single mall everywhere. Did you know that story? It's because of this point. And I learned about that story, the low point, on a podcast she was on. And Anne spent like 15 minutes talking about this. The mess. The shit. And that is when I became an Auntie Anne's pretzel fan for life. Okay? Yes. So here's what I'm trying to say. We want to flip it on its head. We want to know why you are a human being, because that is the intimacy. And when you have intimacy, sales is intimacy. People buy from people who they know, like, and trust. Trust is built from intimacy. All right. So here's also how we apply this inside a book coaching framework. So this is for online coaches, consultants, and experts in 2026 and beyond with signature methods. Is that we combine your method and your stories into what's called the viral book formula. And it's how we write books here at Smokin' Hot Books. I want to share this with you because this is how many viral books nowadays, Jen Sincero's You're a Badass, B by Jessica Zweig, James Clear, Amy Porterfield, 2 Weeks Notice, they all follow this framework, and I'm going to show it with you. So this is essentially your method. You know, every entrepreneurs here who are watching this have a method, and you just simply break it down into 10 to 20 chapters. Those are the chapters of your book. You then open each of your chapters with a relevant story that's related to that part of your method. So, for example, when Amy Porterfield talks about how she ditched her job, she gave the story of how when she was side hustling at Tony Robbins and she was talking about how she was under her desk side hustling, she gives that story. And then how she then turned in her 2 weeks notice. And she then shares, this is how you can give your 2 weeks notice as well. Okay. Then so I love seeing how many books open the chapter with like a quote or some statistic backing up the stuff from the chapter, the content of the chapter. So we call it third-party evidence. And then finally, at the end of each chapter, there is a quick win action guide at the end of each chapter saying, you've seen this, now it's your turn to do this. And this is how Mike Michalowicz ends every single one of his books, is that there's a 30-second, get your Titanic rear into gear, do this, and you will find a win. Because when people start making small wins, they get addicted. They start getting addicted. They start telling someone else about it. And that's when your book goes viral through word of mouth. The most powerful way of getting your book to go viral. All right. So again, one chapter of each of the viral book formula is you got your quote, you got your statistic, you got some sort of third-party evidence, you got your story related to the chapter content, got the chapter content that is part of your method. And then finally, it ends with an action guide, quick wins to get people moving and get them to win. All right. So here's an example of how this is done in Jen Sincero's You Are a Badass. 13 million books sold in the past 10 years, I believe. Insane. It opens up with a quote here from Louise Hay. And then it goes into a story about loving yourself, right? And then the chapter is about loving yourself. And there's a action guide at the end of this chapter, which I don't have here. Another example from Jessica's Why, opens up with a quote, wherever you go, there you are. And then opens up with a story. I was going through one of the most difficult periods of my life, right? Boom, 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 boom. And then it goes into how personal branding is about embracing your mess. Your mess is your message. Embracing your shit. That is the magic of you. Okay? So here we go. We got 8 minutes. I want to hear any questions that we have or comments about that. We can actually talk about this framework a little bit more. And Anita, I want to hear from you as well, because you're a book coach, and I'm curious to hear how this relates to what you do as a book coach as well. Let's see.
I love this formula. I was, and I do every now and then we'll add a few additional elements.
Yep.
But these are always critical, always important. One thing I have found that a lot of authors are concerned about is, oh my gosh, my readers are going to figure out my framework and formula, and they're going to be bored. Like, it's going to be so boring that every chapter starts with a quote, or it's going to be so boring that every chapter starts with a story about it. So boring that blah, blah, blah. And I assure them that it's not boring. It is reliable. Readers want to know what to expect. Like, as human beings, of the psychology stuff, we like knowing what's next. Like, we want consistency.
Totally.
You're not telling the same story in every chapter. You're telling a story that is relevant, like you said, Renee, relevant to the chapter title or topic. So people like that flow. It becomes comforting as they read through the book. So this framework is perfect. And yeah, there's of course some other elements to add if you like, but this is really good. And that last portion, the chapter action guide, you know, we can have fun with that. It could either be questions, it could be a journaling section, it could be things to do, it could be something that you can talk on, right? Not
That's right.
20 things to do because no one wants to do that.
Right.
3 or 5 things is perfect.
Totally. I was just pulling up Jen Sincero's You Are a Badass. Her action guides are so simple. They, and not even every chapter has them, I think. Actually, no, they do. Yes, they do. So hers are so simple. There are like journal prompts. And it's like, it's just they're just questions for the reader. I like how she does that. Amy Porterfield, she has even space in her book. She has like these lines, to write in the book if the reader wants. Um, and that's a huge difference between like um, fiction, nonfiction nowadays is that again, like I remember like back in the day, like maybe like in the early 2000s, a lot of how-to books didn't have questions. They would even publish a version of the book like study edition or something like that. But nowadays, with so much information and implementation, we really want to build a connection with the reader. And that connection, if we can prompt this reader to open up and to let their guard down about how they can get invited into your world, that then continues to build up more intimacy so that by the end, they're like, absolutely, I'd love to join your email list. Sign me up, right? And I like how you mentioned about the repeat of like the framework of it getting repeated and repeated and people being afraid that they're being boring. Um and there is a common I've noticed that this is a common objection with people online who like make social media and they're afraid of like repeating themselves on social media because they're like, well, I already said that. People are going to think that I said it again. And people have no idea really what you're talking about. People need to hear something 7 times before they even remember the first thing you said. So
Well, the social media thing is hilarious because we're assuming that everybody who follows us or who's connected to us saw that post
exactly.
when you posted it one time.
Yes.
So yeah, you need to post it again, and that's why we're
And again and again. Exactly. Mhm. Mhm.
maybe you change the lead and they said maybe not. Post it 3 months later. I bet you other people will see it who didn't see it before. And the
Yeah.
same thing's true for, again, that whole consistency and flow and repetition with your book content. Not that you're repeating the same content throughout the book, but just the structure of it.
Right. And there's another thing that comes to mind, Anita, when you said that. So there's this quote from like Marcel Proust or Proust, how you pronounce it. And it's saying that the journey is not about seeing different things, it's about seeing the same thing but with different eyes. And across their journey of reading, of following on social media, of experiencing your emails or experiencing your world, they're going to be experiencing different things and they're going to have realizations. They're going to have breakthroughs. They're going to have epiphanies. And when they see it again, they might see it in a completely different way because they had a breakthrough when they read chapter 2 that they are now seeing what you mean in chapter 7 in a different way all over again. So totally recommend rehashing, revisiting, saying the same thing to build trust, build intimacy, create an experience for your readers and potential customers. Nice quote. I like that. That's why people read the same book multiple times. Absolutely. Just this morning, I was rereading a book that I have read several times, but I'm glad I'm rereading it because I'm like, oh, shoot, I don't remember that part. Okay. For some reason, my Substack live comments are not working. I can't see them, and now I don't know where they are. So if people are leaving Substack comments, um, I'm sorry, I can't see them, and I don't know why. That's so frustrating. We got 17 people, and I can't see. Um, if there's other things that you guys need to like mention, um, drop me a note or a comment underneath this later, so we can see that. Okay, so the homework for today. So for everyone who is involved in this workshop, so there are prizes for those who do the homework, okay? And the homework for today is I want you to share your story. What is your story? And I want you to follow the framework we talked about, which is the same framework that Anita uses for her book coaching clients. It builds intimacy, it builds trust, and people buy from people who know, like, and trust you, okay? So, what is your story? There's going to be a chat thread for this workshop. I'm going to share it with you guys through email. You can post in the chat thread. You can post it on Substack. You can tag me. You can even share it with me through email, whatever you would like. and you will be entered to win a prize for doing this, okay? So, tomorrow is going to be about the four most common pitfalls that authors fall into that keep them stuck at selling just 250 copies, right? 250 is the average lifetime copies sold by a self-published author. Really small. It's not going to get you anywhere. And we'll go through those problems and how to fix them tomorrow. Okay. So the homework today, what is your story? We'll follow the framework and we'll see how your signature method stems from your personal experience. I can't wait to read them. Any other questions, comments, anything else? And I'm wish I could see the chat here. um Great session. Thanks, Renee. All right. Okay. We will see y'all tomorrow at the same time. Thank you guys. Bye. Let's see. How do I exit out of here? Okay. Stop share. All right. See y'all tomorrow. Okay. Okay. I don't know why this isn't working. I can't see any of the comments. Uh, hmm. Okay. If you guys have anything special to say, just leave them in the comments of the post that's going to go out for the Subject Live, and I'll make sure to get onto that. Thank you.